Good afternoon,
Good
Commissioner
afternoon. Good to
Sachs,
see you.
former Senator Maria Sachs. We're talking to. My name is Fred Hadley, and I'm the publisher of the Village Sentry, which is an e-newsletter in Century Village, Boca Raton. And you are our brand new, spanking clean. Well, I don't know about that, but
Even though it's the afternoon, we're still pretty clean here.
right. County Commissioner, and of course, you
Yes,
succeeded term limited Mary Lou Berger, who served two 4-year terms, and you're in now the beginning of the first of your hopefully two terms before your term limited. So,
that's correct.
all right. So, just for people that are not that familiar with you, I just have a little brief bio that I put together, and I'll just briefly go through that. You were born in Battle Creek, Michigan, is that correct?
Yes.
Perfectly apt name. You're a fighter. And
Gotta be if you come from Battle Creek,
there you go.
Michigan.
Well, what I want to know is where'd you get that southern accent? That must be from your schooling, huh? I always thought you were
Listen, I've
like,
been living here a long time,
that's it, yeah. And so in
It is true,
'76, you
Fred.
were at
That's
the
awful.
University of Miami, where you got your Juris Doctor degree. And around
That's
that
right.
time, you went to work for Sachs and Kaplan. Is that correct?
No,
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 I'm sorry.
no. When I graduated from University of Miami Law School,
Right.
I went to work with Janet Reno
Oh,
as a
okay.
prosecutor.
All right. I remember that
And
name.
then I was there for a number of years.
Right.
And then I began working also with a large commercial law firm in Fort Lauderdale
Mm-hmm.
called Rudin, Barnett, McCluskey, Schuster, and Russell
Okay.
in commercial litigation.
Okay.
And then it wasn't until after about 10 years after graduating from law school that I met Peter Sachs and we got married.
Sure. And
Um,
I just found a little thing on the internet that Peter has obtained significant settlements on behalf of each of the Century Village communities and the Kings Point complex in Delray Beach. These settlements included modifications of long-term contracts of adhesion, such as 99-year recreation leases and payments for construction defects, resulting in millions of dollars of benefits for the residents. So that's very impressive. Um, there was
you'll have
this,
to thank Peter Sachs for that.
absolutely right,
I didn't have
right.
anything to do with it. I'm
No,
not a condo lawyer, but
no.
he
But
did a good job. Make
yeah,
sure you thank him.
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so then roughly just going through your career in '06, you were elected state rep for District 86 and reelected in '08. Then in 2010, you were elected state senator District 30. And then in 2012, I think they redistricted or something, and you were elected state senator District 34, reelected in 2014. 2016, you did not run, and you formed or were part of Innovation Florida, a nonprofit advocacy group. And finally, in 2020, you were elected District 5 County Commissioner by a vote of, I got it from the website, 59 to 41% over David Shiner. So does that bring us up to date?
Pretty much,
All right.
yes.
What is
Pretty
this
much.
Innovation Florida? I don't know too much about that. That accounted for 4 years.
Innovation Florida.
Yeah.
Innovation Florida is an organization that I helped to found, and what it does is it works especially with educational programs to make sure that our students are up to speed with learning how to code on the computers, learning how to build and repair drones. And I worked with the school district actually here in Palm Beach County, but also with Robert Runcie in Broward County and with Broward College to make sure that our students coming out of our high schools are computer literate. And, looking back, it was really needed because today it's been such a challenge for our teachers and for our students to be able to keep pace with their academic studies all online. It's
Sure.
been very, very difficult. And when I was in the Senate, I passed a bill that became law that made every classroom teacher in the state of Florida eligible to go to any college in the state of Florida to get free education in technology. Because this, Fred, we didn't know, I didn't know a couple of years ago that we would be talking to each other right now on Zoom.
There you
I
go.
thought Zoom was part of a cartoon program.
That's
you
right.
know?
That's right.
And now look at us. But this is a real challenge for our kids, for our students. We've got to make sure they compete globally.
Right.
And so that's still a very important policy and motivation for everybody to make sure that our students and our teachers too, our teachers have to keep pace with technology today.
Sure. All right. So cutting right to the chase,
Yes.
the thing that you have achieved most recently, which if you achieve nothing else, which I'm sure you will, but if you've achieved nothing else, you're ensured, I think, of a landslide re-election, and that would be getting Century Village chosen for the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine series. I've gotten my first shot, and I'm due to get my second shot on Saturday. So my sore arm, I have to blame you for. Is that correct?
How was the experience? Do you feel lucky that you were able to get your first shot? I hope the rollout, I go there periodically to check and make sure that there's no long lines, right? And I think Century Village has done an incredible job.
Yeah, well, the whole thing happened very suddenly. So
yes, it did.
what they did is they had a process of where you line up to get an appointment. So I'll be honest with you, the first day was pretty horrendous. We covered it on Facebook. But, everybody, of course, came out of the woodwork on day one, and the line was wrapped around the clubhouse, and it was pretty rough. People were sleeping in their cars in the parking lot and getting online before the sun came up. And, but of course, that's not your fault. By the second day, it was still kind of hectic. By day 3, which would have been Thursday of that week, there was virtually just, maybe 10 or 12 people online. And on Friday, which is when I went down there was no line at all. So my experience, I didn't even try to get on the line the first day because I figured it was a waste of time. They might not get to me. But, it worked. People got their appointments. I think we've got already 3,000 people got their first injection. And so what I want to know is what magic wand did you use, or tool did you use to get Century Village? Now, of course, we're an over 55 population, but most of us are 65 and older. So tell us a little about the backstory on. I spoke to Mike Limongelli, which, as you know, is the president of the Century Village Dems, and he's also the president of the Cobrua organization, the umbrella association here, and he says it's all Maria Sachs. She's the one you have to thank. A little bit of Mayor Kerner. I emailed him before this interview. I said, should we make this a joint interview? And he was very much the gentleman, which he is, and said, I defer to Commissioner Sachs. So with that said, tell us, how you pulled this off. Did you go to the governor? What was the story?
Well, when anything wonderful happens, they say success has many parents. Failure only has one.
Right.
Right? So it wasn't just me. I did write the governor before he chose Kings Point and Century Village, and I asked him to consider the areas in my district because I have so many seniors, and I requested that he would favor District 5 with the initial rollout for Seniors First.
Mm-hmm.
And he never answered the letter, but next thing I knew, he was coming. We had 24 hours. He was coming here.
Mm-hmm.
He had chosen Century Village in Boca and Kings Point in Delray. He literally gave us 24 hours, and he was here personally for the first rollout at Kings Point. So it wasn't that I had this magical wand and chose Century Village Boca. I asked him, because if you don't ask, you don't get.
That's right.
And I've learned over many years in the legislative process not to complain about things. I mean, it's okay to complain, but what are you going to do to help us? What are I am here to take care of the people, not to just complain about it. So I wrote him a letter. I said, come on down, because we've got a lot of seniors. They really need the vaccine. And I told him, I know that we can do this in an orderly fashion.
Mm.
So 24 hours notice, he was appearing in Kings Point. And right away, we had Sentry Village rolled out, and they didn't have, Sentry Village didn't have much time putting it together.
No, they didn't.
I was there the day before working with Judy Millington and Mike Limoncello and Stan Siegel, and also Ron Beasley from the strike force. And we were trying to figure out how we can get everybody taken care of in an orderly fashion. Because as you know, it's not like when we were a bunch of teens, Fred, and we were waiting in line to get Rolling Stone tickets.
Right. Right.
We have seniors, we have vulnerable seniors, and I didn't want any long lines. So we restricted it, nobody before 6 a.m. to get the registration. Of course, there's always glitches. But at the end of the day, Sentry Village has become a model for how it should be done in senior communities throughout the state.
Sure.
Yesterday, the governor was at Sun City in Tampa, and they were going to do the similar rollout that we did in Sentry Village. So this is a tribute to Mike Limoncello and Stan Siegel, to Judy Millington, to the strike force, but it is very much a tribute to the people of
Sure.
Sentry Village. They were orderly. It was a very good group of people. They weren't pushing and shoving.
No.
People had social distances, and they wore masks, and I was really proud. I mean, I was a little concerned at the beginning that something would happen, and then we would get a bad mark, and then maybe other communities
Sure.
in Palm Beach. It was a risk,
Sure.
but I've known the people of Sentry Village for many, many years, and I just said, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do this.
You represented this village before, did you not?
Was that?
Were you a representative at one
Yeah,
point?
I've always represented Sentry Village as a state rep and as a state senator.
Sure.
So, I know the people, and I know that if given this opportunity to register, take their time, get a shot, stay there for 15 minutes, and then come back again for the second, then we can do it.
Sure. By the way, for those that don't live in Sentry Village, I just want to get a little plug in. Judy Millington, who you referenced, is the site administrator for Sentry Village West, which is, of course, in Boca Raton. And I just want to also add my personal thanks. I know she was under tremendous pressure. There was very little notice given, and they did a great job in getting this thing set up. And she's also done a very good job with our swimming pools. We got our swimming pools open once the county said that community pools can open with distancing and masks and towels on the chairs and don't move the chair. She's done a very good job in combination with the security force here, our chief of security, Steve Stein, and everybody deserves, heartfelt thanks for keeping us safe.
Even the janitorial staff.
Sure.
And the security. It was Judy. Look. It was a big deal for Judy to do this, and we had a very serious talk the day before we opened up, and we almost stopped it because there was a lot on the line. There was a lot on the line, but she took the challenge, and everybody in Sentry Village came forward on it. And I tell you what, it's a class act where you are, Fred.
Sure.
It's a class act.
Very good.
It is a model for the entire state of Florida, is what happened. And
now,
so I'm very, very pleased. And I wrote a letter, a follow-up. I gave it to all the county commissioners, the mayor, and you'll get a copy of it that shows exactly how they did it at Sentry Village, how they rolled it out, and how successful they have been. So I'm just over the moon about it. I'm so proud of Sentry Village.
Now, the first day, I ran into a community association manager from the original Sentry Village, which is, of course, West Palm Beach. And his name is Donald Foster. He does a terrific job. I'm on his email list. He takes pictures of everything and anything. I mean, the guy's fantastic. And he was like scoping us out because they were still not yet in a position where they were going to have the program. And I know Dave Israel, who's the United Civic Association president up there, was originally a little bit miffed that we got it and that they didn't get it. Now, they're not in your district, are they?
No, they're not. But,
Right. What happened with them? Do you know
after
anything
we
about
got
that?
it-
How did we get it and they didn't get it?
Yeah, they got it in West Palm.
Yeah,
And
but
also Deerfield, Sentry Village in Deerfield.
sure,
Tamarack. But we were the first.
sure,
So
absolutely,
we had, when you think about it, when you're the first, you take a risk
sure,
because that rollout's got to be good because the governor said, I'm not sending it to anybody who's not going to be able to perform.
right,
We don't have a lot of supplies.
right,
And Sentry Village did it right. And then the other Sentry Village in West Palm and of course Sentry Villages in Broward. Sentry Village Boca was the first.
right.
So I'm so proud.
Now, of course, we are a 55 and older community, and the first group was 65 and older. So I know a lot of people, including my girlfriend Melissa, who's just a few months short of her 65th birthday, are wondering, what about us? What can you tell us about getting those residents of these 55 and older communities that haven't yet hit their Social Security landmark? I know you haven't hit that age yet, right?
Some benefit to getting older,
Absolutely, yeah.
It's not just that you get a discount at the movie theaters,
There you go.
but
What's a movie theater?
what movie theaters,
Right.
But it'll look. The message is this: we have the supply. The supply is there. We just need to have it come down to the state.
Right.
We amongst all the 50 states, we shouldn't be getting any more benefit than any other state.
Sure.
But it is coming. It is coming. And even those of us who have not been vaccinated, we're safer the more people get vaccinated.
Absolutely. Right.
So those who are, and I won't say those of us who are under 65, because I am over 65, but those who are under 65, they should know that it is coming. Our school teachers need to be on that list, and our police officers. Our law enforcement is not a priority over our senior citizens. And Sheriff Bradshaw asked me to request that the law enforcement officers get on that list to get it. So the more supply we get, the more vaccinations that we all have, the safer we all are.
Right.
And I think that's very, very important.
Right. But is there anything concrete in the works? What can I tell my girlfriend? When can she expect?
She's lucky to be living with somebody over 65. That's what I would tell her. But then it is coming.
Yeah.
It is coming to those under 65. If I knew exactly when, I'd be in Washington.
I get it.
Washington is where it's like turning off the spigot up there, They have it. When they turn it on, we get it in Florida.
Right.
Nobody is hoarding it in the state of Florida that I know of.
Sure.
And we keep an eye on it. Dr. Alonso with our Department of Health has been very aggressive in requesting over and over again that we get it as soon as possible in Palm Beach. But we are we're the largest geographical area in Florida. And, we're the only ones that have been getting as much as we have. But I think a lot of that is due to Mayor Kerner has a good relationship with the governor. That helps. It's about relationships. And I think that the people have been very respectful of wearing their masks and social distancing. So I think we deserve it. And I look forward to the day when we don't have to even talk about vaccines anymore.
Sure. Now, you're part of a 7-person commission, and one of your colleagues is from another district. Obviously, you can only have one commissioner, and that would be Melissa McCarthy. And she's been making headlines lately that she is very upset with the fact that Governor DeSantis, in at least Palm Beach County, is now doing the distribution to, I believe, 67 Publix locations. I was reading
That's
the Sun
correct,
Sentinel
Fred,
this
correct.
morning. There are a lot of people, like especially in the Glades area, that don't have cars and at a 30 miles drive. Is she right to be angry at this, to take it away from the government and to put it into the corporate sector. Do you think she's right about this? What can you tell us?
Commissioner McKinley is extremely effective in representing the people in her district, and the people in her district are not getting the resources necessary to get to the publics so that they can get their shots. In fact, what we did today, just today in our meeting, is we discussed possibility of using palm tram.
Oh,
So that if someone is, either one doesn't have transportation, or two is too far away to get to a Publix where there's a pharmacist, then they should be able to take a palm tram for free and get to that location. So we're looking into that, Fred.
sure.
But Commissioner McKinley is frustrated. We're all frustrated.
Right.
We're all, because
Right.
for every person that got that vaccination at Sentry Village, there are 10 who didn't,
Sure.
who call me.
Mm.
And their friends and their friends. So, it's frustrating because I want to help everybody, but I can only help them when I have the supply.
Yeah. And by the
So
way,
what we need to do is for those folks, and we have homebound folks in Century Village, can't get out of their homes. We have homebound folks who don't live in senior communities. They live in independent housing. We need to have pop-up units from the healthcare district that can go, or EMS officers from the fire department, to go to those folks and say, here we are, we're ready to vaccinate, and just roll it out. Century Village did about 500 vaccinations a day, and that was just in a couple hours. Imagine if you had a pop-up unit that was working 12, 14, 16 hours a day. Folks work at night out in the glades. They can come during the day and get a vaccinated, or late at night. So as the supplies come in, you will see a disbursement and a mobilization in this county that will make sure that everybody's protected, not just those in senior communities like Century Village, but those throughout the county. We're so diverse. And I think that we all look for it, all 7 of us.
sure.
We feel the pain that Melissa McKinley is going through with her, constituents, and nobody should be over anybody else in getting this. Nobody is more equal or than anybody else. Anybody over 65 should have the opportunity to get this vaccination.
Sure.
So as soon as that spigot opens up in Washington, D.C., we'll get it.
Now-
And then we'll disperse it, and maybe we'll get, one of the first will be someone you know pretty well.
I hope. And by the way, the Publix program is still 65 and older.
Absolutely.
That's correct? And it's by
Absolutely.
appointment only. We don't want people running down
That's
the
correct.
Publix.
No, you have to be 65.
Yeah, and I
Just to
understand
register.
there's no BOGOs on that vaccine.
Right, because you have to put your date of birth,
Yes.
Fred.
Right.
And so make sure we get, when it's open to those under 65, we'll make sure Melissa gets right up in there. In that
Okay.
list.
Now, have you gotten injected?
I have. I was asked to do that by.
Have you gotten both?
Baker.
Number 2 as well, the booster?
No, I haven't got number 2.
Oh, when are you getting number 2?
I don't know.
Oh, and is it the
I haven't
Pfizer?
answered that.
Did you
I
get the
haven't-
Pfizer?
I haven't even thought about it.
Pfizer
but,
or Moderna? Which one did
Pfizer.
you? Pfizer. That's the
I
one.
take whatever they give me.
Well, we were very happy because right after we got the Pfizer, we started reading that seems to be the creme de la creme. It seems to be the better of the two. Now,
Somebody at Century Village said, "Listen, Commissioner, you better tell me which one am I going to get? Which one are we going to get?"
Yeah.
And I was so excited that we got it. Opportunity at Century. I said, "Look, you'll get the one that works."
Sure.
Now,
Did you have any reactions or anything?
I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Well,
I mean, I was
tell us.
sore.
Your arm
About
was
24
sore.
hours, I felt.
Yeah,
tired.
same with me. The day 1 I
arm
got
was-
injected. Day 2, sore arm. Whenever I moved my arm, it was sore. By day 3, I didn't feel it when I was moving my arm, only if I touched the site of the injection. And by the 4th day, it was like history. But now, what I'm hearing, I have a sister on the West Coast, and she got the Moderna. The other brand, if you want to call it. And she was okay with the first injection. The second injection, she's a registered nurse, so even though she's below 65, she got frontline
Good for her.
priority. But the second one, she did develop a 101 fever. She emailed me yesterday.
Really?
Yeah, but she said that it's not unheard of. And then somebody else I spoke to that got the second Pfizer said they felt kind of lousy, but it was just a one-day thing. So I don't know. My take on it is at least you know it's working. You know, at least it's triggering
Right,
some
right.
kind of response in your body.
Right,
You know, right?
exactly.
Yeah. So that's a good thing.
And you're not getting the virus, you're not getting, it's not like the polio
Right,
shots
right,
we got
right.
as kids.
Now, what can you say? This is an obvious question, but I want you to say it. After you get injected, does that mean you don't wear your mask and you can resume your
Oh, no.
life? All right.
You still have to wear it.
Tell us
Always.
tell us the wisdom here.
Well, what I have been told, and what I've read from the CDC and what they told us here in the commission, is that after you get your first, even after you get your second, you should wear the mask
Sure.
and just keep the protocol that we've been doing. I wash my hand. I wash my hands all the time. I'm always washing my hands, always sanitizing my hands, and that's
Right.
good.
Right. Right.
And it's funny, I don't like to get too close to people anymore.
There's
It
been
used to be we'd hug each other, we shake hands and everything. Hopefully that day will come back. But
Yeah.
right now I'm just, I still feel funny. I just keep the distance. If I'm in an elevator and there's two people, somebody else, I walk out.
Right. That's
And
right.
I think that this is safe for everybody to do. Because you know what, Fred, tell you the truth, you don't know. There could be variants of the flu virus out there.
There are.
And,
Yeah, and they're
I
in
just think
Florida
that we're
too.
Very,
Yeah.
very
yeah.
happy and grateful that we got the first. Some folks are getting the second already. Let's just be careful. Let's be good, and let's just be compliant and get this thing over with.
Sure. Now, one of your other colleagues is Mayor Dave Kerner, personal friend of mine. I'm proud to say, and he broke history, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. This year, in that he became the only person in Palm Beach County history to be reelected, which of course it's just an informal thing among the seven of you, but he was reelected mayor for a second term. Has anyone ever done that before, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge.
Me neither.
But then we've never had a global pandemic.
That's right.
before.
So let me
100
ask you
years
this.
ago.
So what do you think of the mayor's job? Is he doing a good job? Did you support his reelection?
Well, I think that, of course, I supported his reelection, and I think the most important thing a mayor can do is to represent all the people of the county. I represent District 5, but he needs to represent all of us when it comes to whatever crises the entire state and the entire county is going through. I voted for him for mayor because I really thought carefully about this, that we need to have a continuation of the protections for this COVID pandemic. And I think he's done an excellent job in connecting with the governor to make sure that we get that Palm Beach County. Oh, we're one of 67. And, we got to be one of the top counties in order to get what we should get from Tallahassee. I know that. I spent 10 years up there.
Sure.
So I just thought that he would be the best representative for all the people in the county as mayor. So I voted for him again. I voted.
Was there any
for him.
opposition? Was there any opposition to his reelection?
I think that, yes, I think that Commissioner Weinroth wanted to also be mayor.
Okay.
And I think Commissioner Weinroth would make an excellent mayor.
What was the
But-
vote? Do you know?
What was
remember?
the vote?
Yeah, on that mayoral election.
It was my first meeting, Fred. I don't know. I think it was
Yeah.
like 4-3.
Oh,
maybe.
4 to
You
2.
know, it was pretty close.
So it was
pretty
close. Pretty close. Yeah. Yeah.
It was my first vote,
Right.
so I don't know exactly if it was probably 4-3.
Yeah.
But I think that he's done. Commissioner Weinroth will certainly make a wonderful mayor, especially when we go post-COVID. We go into an economic resurgence. I think he will make an excellent mayor.
Sure.
Right now, I'm very pleased with just, you don't want to change your horse midstream.
Right.
You don't want to change
Right.
drivers in the middle of a race. We're in a race. This is a war.
Right.
And we keep the same general all the way through.
Explain to the folks what exactly do we mean by the mayor of the county commission?
Well,
He doesn't
As I
get
said,
any extra money, correct?
I
Salary.
didn't know that he got extra money. If I
No,
had known
no,
he
no,
got
no,
extra
no.
money,
I
you
know he
know,
didn't. You all get the
I don't
same.
know if he does or not.
Yeah.
His office is right down the hall. I think it's the
Right.
same size as
Yeah.
mine.
No, I
Now you got
discussed
me
it with
wondering. I
Mary
should maybe
Lou
go
when
check.
she was the mayor, and it's really just an informal.
It is. It is.
I think
He
they
runs the
copied
meeting.
it from Miami-Dade or something like that. And
Well,
what
they have
is
stronger
their
mayors.
principal job of the so-called mayor of Palm Beach County? Is to do what? Is to
Is to run the meetings,
run
run
the
the board
meeting,
meeting,
sure.
run
Chairman
the
of the
meeting,
meeting, sure.
and also to represent the entire county to other governmental agencies,
Right,
uh,
right.
to our congressional legislative delegation, but especially to the governor,
Sure.
because so much of what we do here in the county comes funding from the state.
Right.
So
Right.
after being there for so many years, I know that's an important job to have.
Right.
And that job is one that we need to get things from Tallahassee
Right.
to help us here in the county. He's done a good job, and I think he'll continue to do a good job.
Now, shifting gears, this is a little off your beat, but do you have any comment on the recent presidential election and the fact now that they want to impeach former President Trump and how that might affect us? Or, is there anything you want to say about that? I know you're a lifelong Democrat, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I always
I-
see you at all the clubs, Ed Saul's, United South County, and
Right.
Mindy
I am,
Koch, and then tonight I think you have a Zoom meeting with Century Village Dems, right?
That's correct.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
correct. Fred,
So-
you'll probably be there.
So let's hear your unvarnished, biased view on what happened with on January 6th, and do you feel that this is a threat to democracy and that the House is proceeding properly? What can you tell us about that?
I think that I'm very pleased that we had a peaceful transition of power. We have a very important citizen here in Palm Beach County with the former president, and I have always and I have taken these courses in college and graduate school. I love the study of government. I have always taught my students when I was teaching and my children to respect the office. You may not like the person, but you respect the office of president or judge or senator, whatever it may be. And so I always teach my students and my children not to ever speak disrespectfully. So I look forward to a new administration. And as President Biden says, it's going to be unity. We cannot, as he said the other day, which was very beautiful, we cannot have peace unless you have unity.
Sure.
I think we're ready for some peace. I think the unity is going to be up to us. I
Right.
think everybody in our community has to just tone it down. We're in the middle of a war. So this is life and death for us.
Yeah.
When people ask me whether I want to change the name of the airport, I want to get vaccines in.
Yeah. Now, one other
that's
issue
important.
that's come up is President Trump wants to use Mar-a-Lago as his residence. And a number of years ago, recently, he agreed that he would not reside there. And there seems to be an issue about that. What do you feel about that? Should he be allowed to live there, or should he be held to his agreement? I think the county was with, the agreement was with Palm Beach. I don't think it's a county.
Palm Beach, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, I don't live in Palm Beach, and that's their problem.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
I got enough problems right down here in the county,
Sure.
but that's between him and Palm Beach.
All right.
And I'm sure they will resolve it.
Sure. And speaking of
Interesting.
problems, COVID aside, of course, that's the star of the moment right now, the big issue. What are some of the other issues that you think need to be tackled in District 5? For example,
Well, I'm glad you asked that, Fred,
Good.
because
Take it away.
that's very important. A lot of people can't get out of this. When can I get my vaccine?
Yeah.
I think and I'm glad you bring that up. We have a failure in this county to communicate. Nobody knows what's going on. We don't know if you can get it to South County Civic Center. What kind of, is Moderna as good as Pfizer? Where can you get your second doses? We really need to get up to speed. And I said this in the county commission. I said, I can take my phone right now and I can order something from Amazon, and I know it'll be delivered free tomorrow. But darn, I can't make a reservation at Publix for my father-in-law and so I can't find out from the Department of Health how many vaccines are in today.
All right,
Well,
but
the county commission.
I want to shift away from that. For example, what can you tell us about the Turnpike widening project and the proposal that a new entrance exit be cut into the Turnpike at Palmetto? This has been batted around for at least a decade since I'm down here. And, the main issue for us is Glades Road. It becomes like a traffic nightmare. And they say that half the traffic going down Glades Road in rush hour is just heading for the Turnpike from south of Glades Road, and that if we had that entrance, it would take a lot. What can you tell us about that? And also, can you speak to the new shopping center called Uptown Boca? Do you think that was an appropriate project? Do you think it's going to impact negatively on traffic, crime, what have you, pollution? What can you tell
But
us?
I think that the greatest transformation in Palm Beach County is going to be traffic. It's all about traffic. When you sit down with anybody, they complain about traffic. And I don't blame them, because I live off of Clintmore Road, and everybody comes on Clintmore to get over to Atlantic in order to get on the Turnpike. And Atlantic Avenue is a mess, like Yamato. Yamato has a lot of traffic. We're going to widen Yamato Road by Sentry Village. And I'm working with the engineers to make sure we get a guardrail. So that will be an issue that I'd like to bring up with you pretty soon, because we're discussing that right now. With the widening of Yamato Road right next to Sentry Village. I think we need to focus more on public transportation, and I think we need to focus more on people working and living in their communities, because we don't have any more space to make bigger roads. We keep, I went to high school in LA, so I grew up in Detroit and LA. I know highways, and I've learned as growing up that as soon as you widen the road, you get more traffic. You don't lessen the traffic, you get more traffic. So you widen it some more, and you get more traffic, and then you have pollution, and you have issues with climate change and all the. We need to shift gears here. Most people are very happy working out of their homes and not having to drive. And if anybody has noticed, there's less traffic right now. At least there was a couple of months ago on I-95 and on the Turnpike, because everybody was home doing what you and I are doing right now on a Zoom call. So I look forward, and I'm going to encourage businesses to not have people come in and commute 5 days a week, maybe 2 or 3 days, and do the rest of it on telecommunication.
Sure.
Same thing with doctors' offices.
Sure.
So I think that we've got to end climate change. We can't take this. We just, they want to widen the Turnpike, and I can't tell you right now that I'm against it, but I'm not really for it. I'm not really for it. And I think the traffic on Glades and on Yamato is dangerous. What happens, what's going on right now. So we need to do something. And so I welcome anybody who listens to you and watches this. Give me some ideas. How can we do this without widening more roads?
All right.
And more traffic?
Right.
Because I'm telling you, 1,000 people come to the state of Florida every day. They don't walk in from Georgia; they're driving in.
Sure.
New York is the number one state, losing more of its people.
That's right.
And I have a feeling they're not going to Alabama or Mississippi; they're coming down to Florida.
Right.
So, we need to make sure that we can accommodate all these new people who are coming in who want to live here.
Right. Now, does your district go down?
I'm not sure it's widening the roads anymore.
Yeah. Does your district go down to Palmetto? What's the southern?
My district goes all the way to the county line.
Okay, which is just beyond
Which
Palmetto.
is Palmetto. It goes all the way
Yeah,
to the
yeah.
Broward.
So the issue is the neighborhood at Palmetto and the Turnpike.
Right.
I think it's a largely Orthodox neighborhood, and they're very much NIMBY, not in my backyard. They don't want the turnpike entrance and exit there, because while it would be obviously very convenient for them, it's also going to, while it takes the traffic away from us, it's going to put, so how do you, you've got, multiple constituents, and how do you toe that line and please everybody? What's your position going to be? Are you going to be for or against the new entrance, the proposed new entrance?
I think everybody wants to get another entrance off the turnpike
Right.
to alleviate the congestion on Glades Road. That is the only exit off the turnpike for Boca Raton, because the next one is Atlantic, and that's in Delray. I also hear the voices of those who are live in that area, in that community, Montoya, and I don't represent them, all of them now, but I have represented them in the Senate, and it's a very tight-knit community. I think that an exit would disrupt them pretty severely. So I wish I could tell you I had an easy answer. I don't. But I'll be working. One thing I can tell you is I'm not just working with the engineers. I'm going to be working with the residents.
Sure.
And see how we can come up with some kind of a conclusion.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people want it, and a lot of people would find it disruptive.
Right.
So we're going to have to come up with a solution that will please most of the people, but probably not all of them.
Absolutely. Now,
And
you touched on alternates, and one of the big alternates was supposed to be the Bright Line, which of course has been derailed, to use a bad pun, temporarily because of COVID. Now, I understand they're going to be breaking ground on a new station in downtown Boca Raton by the library.
Right.
And they're also doing something at La Ventura Mall. So they're converting it from its original, shall we just say, really for tourists, from going from the cruises at Miami up to Disney. Now they're trying to turn it into an alternate to the Tri-Rail. The Tri-Rail, of course, is parallel to 95, adjacent to 95, and they refer to Brightline as the so-called coastal route. That was the original. If it wasn't for that line, none of us would be here. That was the original Flagler, Florida East Coast Railroad, which last served passengers in '68. And now, of course, in 2018, they resumed passenger service. I'm proud to say I rode that Bright Line on its rollout day when it was just 2 stations. So do you think that that's the right approach? What do you think about the Bright Line?
Well, Fred, you unlike many people, understand that Florida was built by rail.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't realize that if it wasn't for Flagler and the rail, going through, by the Breakers Hotel and all the way down to the Keys, we probably wouldn't have the development that we have as early as we did in the state of Florida. And so I believe in rail.
Right.
I believe that it's, make it clean and fast and efficient. And, okay, so you do. A lot of people don't realize what Flagler did for us.
Yes. And then there's another Henry. Do you know about the other Henry?
Who is the other Henry?
Let's see, is this the right book? Oh, yeah, here it is.
Henry Plant.
Yeah. Henry Plant was to...
I didn't know that.
Yeah, was to the west coast of Florida. What Henry Flagler was to the east coast. In fact, there's a third book I'm going to show you. You ought to take a look at this. This is a pretty easy read. It's called The Two Henrys.
I have to look that up.
Right. Now, Plant was actually first, and he built what they called the Plant system. And I'm trying to think here. This would give you an idea of, it was really all about Tampa and the west coast of Florida, and it was the main departure point for Cuba. And then Henry Flagler, our Henry, was actually an investor in a Plant system. And when he went to Key West, what he was doing was having a friendly competition with Henry Plant, and Key West became now the major transshipment point to Havana. By the way, there is a city on the west coast where we get most of our winter strawberries called Plant City. And
Plant City, yes.
a lot
Yeah,
of
the best
people think,
strawberry-
well, that's
the best strawberries.
right. But a lot of people, I just bought a box. They're in season now. This is the month for Plant City. A lot of people think that, oh, well, it's Plant City because they grow a lot of plants there. Not so.
Right.
It's Plant City because they owe their existence. They're about 25 miles inland from Tampa to Henry Plant. And guess how many times Henry Plant visited the city named after him?
I did not know that.
Yeah,
I did not know about Henry
it's
Plant.
zero. He never he never went to his namesake town, but that's just a little bit of trivia.
Well, Plant City, I know that they have the best strawberries I've ever tasted.
That's right.
And Michigan has some pretty good strawberries, but nothing like Plant City, Florida. But I
Sure.
did not know that the two Henrys were competitive against each other. And that being said, you see, you understand the history of Florida. We're set up perfectly for rail.
Yeah.
I wish we had more rail.
Yeah.
Because I've taken rail to Orlando, and it's slow. I mean, I think we can do better in
Right.
terms of speed.
Right.
But it's you got Wi-Fi there. You can eat. It's really a gentleman and ladies way to get anywhere, and it's clean. So I look forward to the Bright Line. You're correct. It was supposed to go from Miami to Orlando in less than 3 hours, and inexpensive, cheaper than an airplane. But now that they have the stations, that's okay too. I wish they would, like Europe, I wish they would have like speed trains. You could catch one and get you to Orlando immediately without
Right.
stopping.
Right.
Or you could take the one that takes its time all the
Yeah.
way through the stations.
Yeah.
But we need to rely, instead of talking about widening turnpikes, we need to rely more on alternative sources of transportation.
Sure.
We could have electric cars, like a monorail system. Walt Disney put that up in Central Florida, probably back in the 70s, probably for Disney, a monorail system that operated around the park. Miami-Dade has got some good alternatives, transportation alternatives. So I think that we need to start thinking outside the box.
Sure.
Because our climate's not going to take this anymore, anyways.
Right.
And I think
right.
people are tired of traffic,
Yeah.
gas. It's over.
Now-
It's done. We're over it.
I just read, this is of course outside your district, but at the end of Palmetto, at the ocean, there's a park there. There used to be, this is before my time, a rather decadent nightclub, the Willow or something like that. And after 10 years of going back and forth, they're finally going to start constructing a new park there, and it's going to connect under the Palmetto overpass with what they call Silver Park, which is that boat launch
Right,
area when
right.
you go right. And so, do you have any comment on that? Do you think that's a positive development? How do you
I
feel?
think that, the glory days of Florida
Yeah.
was when you could go to Miami and catch a Trans Am, was it TWA, Pan Am,
Yeah.
out of Miami to Havana, or Havana. And Sinatra and all the boys from New York and New Jersey. I don't see why we can't recreate, part of those glory days of Florida. And I think that we're ready for it. We have so many. We are such a gem. Really, I love this state. We have so much opportunity. To build railway in states like California, you've got mountains, you've got ravines, desert. Here we're flat.
Right.
And it's a perfect. I mean, look, Henry Flagler was no fool. He knew, and he knew if you could bring tourists from New York all the way down to this beautiful place in January and February on rail, you're going to make a lot of money, and he did.
Sure.
I mean, look at the house he used to live with, in Flagler Museum.
Right.
So I think that you are so right, Fred. We need to really also educate our kids on the history of Florida.
Yeah.
It's a paradise, and we got to get out of this idea of widening roads and gas combustion cars. We got to start thinking. We got to start thinking outside the box, and I hope we're going to do that after this COVID thing is over with. We can start
Yeah.
getting creative.
I'd like to get an electric car, but my problem is I don't drive very many miles. I'm retired and I use my bicycle for local shopping sometimes, and certainly around the village. I use it for exercise. And what I'm waiting for is a more convenient charging system. I
Yes,
say that when they make the roof of the electric car a solar panel,
solar, right,
because I mean, my car could sit there for 6 days and I don't use it. So in that time, it could be charging, and I don't need more than 50 or 100 mile cruising range. So I just bought a new Camry. It's not an expensive car, but I've been driving the Camry, and I just can't justify another $5,000 or $10,000 for an electric car, and then have to go off premises and find a charging station. And of course, I know that I can put in a charging station right here in Cornwall in Sentry Village, but it's cost ineffective. It would be about $5,000. You have to hire an electrician and a contractor. They have to dig up concrete, and then the electricity isn't free. You have to now pay for
right.
that, and you have to have liability if somebody trips over my charging station. So it's just a non-starter, and I'm hoping that the technology will improve, because I'd be the
Well,
first.
Israel has solar panels on a lot of their electric cars,
Oh, is that right?
and they've been right. And Israel, the innovation nation, the startup nation. We need to reconnect with them. I did in the Senate a lot. I went a number
Right.
of times, even with the governor, to Israel just to learn about their technologies, because they gave us drip irrigation here in Florida,
Right.
and the little cherry tomatoes, it
Yeah.
all came from Israel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we really need to reconnect. We forget that Israel's one of our best partners, and we got a wonderful council in Miami. And if anyone is interested, when we get past this COVID, I would love to be able to invite the council from Israel, from the consulate in Miami, to come talk to us about these issues, because they're so far ahead of us, and we can learn, so that we have solar power. I mean, our weather is very similar to Israel's. It's a little drier than ours, but we still have a lot of sun, and golf carts. We just if you can get a longer lasting battery in a golf cart, Fred, you could go from Century Village to Publix on a golf cart. We got to widen the sidewalks, and it would be very enjoyable.
Sure,
Very
sure.
enjoyable.
Now,
So I look forward to that. I look forward to that.
just returning briefly to the park that they're building on Palmetto. One of the things they're going to be doing is raising the seawall. So, of course, that goes to the issue of climate change, global warming, sea level rise. How big of a threat do you feel sea level rise? I mean, it's not a future thing. It's happening here and now. Alton Drive, Miami Beach, they got octopuses swimming in the street.
Right.
What's your take on that? And put that in a priority. How important that is that for our future to get that under control?
I think it's probably, if not our number one priority, right up there, because Florida, and we need to be serious about this. We just float, we're just a sandbar sometimes here in south of Orlando. We're all sand. North of Orlando, they're clay, but here we're just sand. And there are our property values will, when people say, what is it? I don't care. It doesn't affect me any. Property values are going to drop if we don't take care of this sea level rise quickly. Because if you live east of I-95, there's only one insurance company that will take care of your property, and that's Citizens.
Sure.
Citizens Property Insurance, and they're beginning to raise their rents, or to raise their premiums, really because of the issues of sea rise and climate change. So this is not something for the future. This is something that's here now.
Sure.
And I think that our discussion about electric cars, and our discussion about people working more out of their communities and not necessarily commuting back and forth, all give part of, and also using rail instead of jet planes going back and forth up the coast. This is what we have to get used to, Fred, because Florida is the most vulnerable state when it comes to climate change, and it affects our property values. You know that there are places in Miami-Dade that are not allowed to build because people don't want to buy east of I-95.
Sure.
They're looking at Opelika, which is built higher up and farther away from the coast. And this is today. This isn't in the future.
Yeah.
So this is a very, very big deal, and we need to be very, very cognizant of it, because it's not our fault. You know, everybody blames our generation, Fred, for doing it, but we didn't realize how delicate our climate is, and now that we do, we have a responsibility to protect it for our children, our grandchildren.
Right.
This is a really big deal.
Now, what the first thing I think that President Biden did, it feels good to say that word, doesn't it? Was get us back into the Paris Climate Accord. That
Right,
obviously
right.
Donald Trump didn't believe in that and everything. Did that resonate
gives
with
you
you?
a sense.
Are you glad
Yeah.
that he's taken that step? And do you think it's symbolic, or do you really think that we as humans haven't reached some kind of point of no return? Is this reversible?
I'm an optimist. Look,
Okay.
it's not just the Paris Accords. It's getting rid of coal. My gosh, we can't be producing coal anymore. And the men and women who worked in the coal industry, there are thousands of them. We need to make sure that they get ready for other jobs.
Sure.
In solar technologies or wind, so that they're not completely out of work. But we need to get rid of that technology, and fracking has no place in the state of Florida. I mean, if anybody really understood what fracking does to our soil, to our land, they would absolutely be against it. So we don't need to worry about other countries. You know, Paris Accord is wonderful. But, however, we need to look at ourselves and say, what are we doing as a state?
Yeah.
We don't need to have oil drilling off the coast of Florida.
Sure.
So I saw where Huntington Beach in Southern California now has oil derricks all over the beaches. We are such a pristine, beautiful state. We need to keep it this way. We need to use solar, and we need to use more wind. And we need to make sure that we always have an eye towards climate, protecting our climate, and making sure that we're good stewards of the land.
Sure.
And I think our generation will. I think, people of our generation are going to make sure that the developers don't use up all our available land and our trees, so that we can keep moving forward in a green way.
Sure.
And it is nice to say President Biden.
Yeah. All right. Now, you've served as a state senator, a state representative. Now you're a county commissioner. Aside from the fact that your commute has become a lot easier, how would you, do you like the new job? Will you prefer going back to Tallahassee? Tell us a little, just from your personal feelings. How do you like the new job? Obviously, you came in at a very unusual time with
Sure,
the COVID.
I did.
But
I knew about it. A lot of the commissioners here didn't realize they were coming in and signing up for COVID.
Yeah.
I knew it, and I like the job. It's in your face more.
Yeah.
It's in your face more.
Right.
When I was in Tallahassee, I'd talk about Tico Energy in Tampa, and I'd talk about our ports in Jacksonville, and it was easy, a little bit easier, because you're not dealing with your backyard. I live in the Ag Reserve. So and I have a father-in-law who lives in Sentry Village. So when people talk about widening Yamato Road by Sentry Village, whether we should have guardrails, that's me. That's personal and upfront.
He's in this one in Boca, this Century Village?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
But so I drive the roads here. I eat our food here, and I think that being a county commissioner is really a little more of a responsibility than being a state senator. It's fun being a state senator, though. I mean, it was all the prestige. People are always opening doors. I walk up to a door, nobody opens a door for me anymore. So it's more serious here.
The
I
pay
think
is
that-
better, right? I mean, the state,
what? The pay
the
is
salary, you were getting,
Yeah, the
I think
pay,
by
yeah.
statute, 29,697.
It's a job. It's a real job. As
Yeah.
somebody said.
But it's year round also, right? This is
It's what?
a year round, a 12-month
Oh,
job.
yeah. Yeah.
Whereas Tallahassee was like, what is it, 4-month?
But in deference to our state legislators, they work hard. Our state legislators work very hard. They get paid very little, and it's not easy for them.
Sure.
And they really should be paid more.
Sure, sure.
And their staff should be paid more. But I think that it's a very good preparation for this position and it's a county commission. Really is. And I feel very blessed and I feel very responsible for my people in this job.
One of the problems about being a Democratic legislator is you're so badly outnumbered up in Tallahassee, which obviously it frustrates a lot of people. Do you feel a little more, you know what I mean?
Empowered.
Friendlier or you know, is the work environment better with the 7-person commission? Do you know, is there a breakdown by Democrat versus Republican on the county commission?
I think we have one Republican.
Okay.
And she ran as a Republican, and there's 6 of us who ran as Democrats.
So that would be Melissa?
Do we what? No, that's Maria Marino.
Oh,
is a
okay.
Republican.
Okay, right. Everybody else is a Democrat?
Everybody else ran as Democrats. But I think that when it comes to local issues, Fred,
Yeah,
we're pretty much all on the same page.
sure. That's good.
When it comes to zoning and land development, there's no Democrat or Republican policy issues on this.
Right.
When you're in a state legislature, then there are. There's choice for women, and there's a lot of other issues that are more policy oriented. Here in the county commission, and I like it this is the way it should be. When it comes to widening a road or putting guardrails in, or many of these, should we put a school over here? They're really not policy decisions. It's based on Democrat or Republican.
Sure.
So,
Okay.
I think that's good. I
Sure.
think that's good. It shouldn't be. So I like the job. I'm enjoying it.
Well, that's great. Now, I know you got another meeting tonight, at least one. I'm sure you probably have ones that I don't know of, but
There's one right here. They're telling me.
yeah. Would you like to just, by way of summary, give us a final little, what they call closing argument? You were a former prosecutor in Miami in the narcotics division, is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I'd like to say is that I enjoy reading your Village Sentry.
Oh, thank you.
I get it, and I think it's very well done. And it's not, you didn't tell me to say this.
No.
But it's colorful.
You mean you didn't get the check in the mail?
No, not yet. But I do enjoy it because you take a pretty much of an impartial stance, and you get all those New York, cartoons in.
Oh, yeah.
And it's and I wish other senior communities had the same thing, because I think it really is. It's good to know what's going on in the village, and I think that there are some issues coming up that I'd like to discuss with you at a later date. But I think that the most important thing I can say is that Sentry Village came through. Sentry Village, Boca Raton came through when we had. We were tested to see if our people could handle this rollout of the vaccine, and we were found to be winners. And that means not only winners for the residents of Sentry Village, but winners for Sun City and Kings Point in Tampa, and all the senior communities in the state of Florida. Shows that this rollout can be done so well, so seamlessly, so carefully and efficiently for those over 65. So thank you all for helping me to make this a success.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. You've been very generous with your time. This 20-minute interview has turned into over an hour, I think, but it was very enjoyable. I hope you enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And we look forward to more dialogues, and we want to give you an open invitation. Anytime you want to do a guest column in our weekly Village Sentry,
Thank you.
we will feature it and headline it and build you up as best as we can because we think you're a fantastic person. You've always been easy to talk to, and I think you're a great public speaker. I remember the first time I was exposed to you, I'm talking with using virus terms, was when what's his name was the former state representative, the one that went to J Street. His name is escaping me now.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, no, I think you introduced him, and his book was Fire Breathing Liberal. What's his name again? I can't think of it.
Robert Wexler.
Yeah, Robert Wexler. I remember you got up there and you said, and now I'm going to introduce you, a guy whose book was Fire Breathing, and he's fire breathing, fire eating, and I just thought you were like, over the top, and I still think the most of you, and
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and we're really glad that you're representing District 5,
Thank
and
you so much.
we look forward to your re-election in 3 years.
My best to Melissa, too.
Sure. All right. Well, thanks again. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good
Bye-bye.
day.